Well, Irish Fest took place over the weekend, of course, and this year had obviously a much heavier feeling to it. And what always happens in these situations is when you have tragedy prior to an event, they try to find ways to incorporate that tragedy into said event. And then the local media comes out and they do all their fake feel-good reporting and, we really missed the guy and, oh, gosh, I wish this didn't happen. But it's all smoke and mirrors. It doesn't mean anything. Nothing's going to change. Nothing gets accomplished when that's how it gets handled. And it's sad to say, but this is exactly how it was handled over the weekend with Irish Fest. In the wake of the death of Shaun Brady, who was killed when his car was getting robbed last week, right in Brookside, right outside of Brady and Fox, his restaurant, his bar, his establishment. And the guy tries to prevent his own vehicle from getting robbed, and he gets shot and killed. Guy leaves behind a couple of kids. You've got these two juveniles who are now in custody, thank goodness. And as far as I know, Jean Peters Baker is not elected to slap him on the wrist and tell him to do better next time. At least not yet. She hasn't chosen to go down that road. But I watched some of the media coverage over the weekend, and I'm like, this is exactly what we shouldn't do. These are such unserious people that the media ends up interviewing in these situations. I'll play for you a portion of KCTV5's coverage, and I'm not knocking KCTV5. They're a partner here in all this, but it's the reaction from the people that they talk to that is just filled with nothing but niceties and empty words, as if there's no way to ever prevent any of this stuff. There's nothing that we can do better. There's no more that we can expect from our law enforcement, from our prosecuting arm, from our elected leaders in the city. Nope, it's just, oh boy, what do? Just throw your hands up and, sing Shaun's praises and hope stuff like this stops happening.
For many, the KC Irish Fest just didn't feel the same without Shaun Brady.
No words to describe it. It's so sad.
Cameron Russell knew Brady well.
And he used to hire me to play at all his restaurants over the years, so I miss him.
His band, Flanagan's Right Hook, dedicated their performance this afternoon to the late chef, honoring his life.
We made everybody take 10 seconds during the show just so they could remember Shaun and maybe look at each other and be, hold each other closer, because, man, it can go like that.
There was a lot of people in this venue that were talking about doing something for the family.
But even those who didn't know him personally still wanted to do something special, like vendor Joel Darnell Zani.
I thought maybe giving them like a cross, it's an Irish event, so we picked up an Irish cross, kind of show care,
Caring for each other seems to be the theme of this year's festival. And to still carry on a great party in honor of Shaun Brady and his family.
His wife and his family, his two kids, I think they deserve it. And if they're watching, I think they'd get a kick out of the community, really coming together.
Yeah, everyone got drunk on behalf of our late father. Thanks so much, guys. Nothing to do about it. Just go to Irish Fest, get hammered, and, hope stuff like this doesn't happen. What a loser mentality. And the fact that the media promotes this stuff is bothersome to me because they act like there's nothing that can be done. From business owners getting gunned down in front of their own restaurants while they try to stop an armed robbery from taking place of their own vehicles. This has been an issue, ask anybody who lives in Brookside and Waldo, for far too long. And the coward politicians with a completely incompetent prosecutor do not care and do nothing about it. You got a police department that's down 300 cops. You have a prosecutor who nobody trusts as far as they can throw her. And you've got city council members who just look the other way. And then on social media last week, after Brady gets killed, they talk about how great a job Jean Peters Baker does as prosecutor. And then with all due respect, I know these people are trying to honor Shaun Brady at this Irish Fest over the weekend, but they sound like clowns. Yeah, I was playing a little tune, and I told people to take 10 seconds and look at each other and hold each other closer. I'm just going to hold people a little closer. Oh, doesn't that sound so good? Yeah, that's real nice.
Such a cute soundbite.
Yeah. And the other guy, he didn't sound like he was from here, but I'm going to give people a cross. I'm all about crosses. I'm all about holding people tight. But let's not act like that's going to really do anything. It's not. Let's have a real conversation here about how we got here and how we get out of it. And how we got here was years of anti-cop rhetoric leading to law enforcement fleeing the force here in Kansas City, in large part driven by a prosecutor's office who went completely woke, especially after 2020, who the police department doesn't trust. They've seen one of their own in prison in Eric DeValcanaire for doing his job. Why are they going to go proactively police anything in this town right now? And then the politicians, they get the fingers pointed at them as well because they, in the summer of love of 2020, were promoting a lot of this chaos and nonsense and too much of this destruction. And then you wonder why you go ask people who live in Brookside and Waldo why they walk out to their cars on a Tuesday morning to try to go to work and their cars are smashed in after another smash and grab takes place in their own neighborhood and no one's doing anything about it. And one guy loses his life, a prominent figure in the community, and we're supposed to be like, we're just going to hug each other. Yeah, that's the answer. Just a little tighter hug. Yeah, why do people have to hug each other tighter? Because there is such a failure of leadership in the criminal justice system in this town that you may not know who the next person is going to be that ends up losing their life because they're trying to prevent their own vehicle from getting robbed. I know, my barber lived in Brookside for a little bit with a family member. He said they would see the smash and grabs all the time. His got hit twice. He said they were sitting on the front porch one day, had their ARs, and they scared off a bunch of kids from doing the same thing to the neighbors. It's like the wild freaking West. Are you kidding me? And then we got people on the news being like, it's just gotta look at each other in between sets of a cheesy cover band and say, man, I love you. Give me a hug, brother. By the way, what did that cover band cost? Too much is the answer.
I'm not worth your Red Lobster money.
All right, Mike in Kansas City, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a little deeper than all that.
Oh, thanks,
we've
Mike.
Had at least Do you hear me?
Go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Anyway, it's a little deeper.
It's a little
than that.
deeper, I know. Go ahead, Mike, please.
More.
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
Tell us what we don't know. Thank you.
Decade or more. That's not saying that you don't know. You know all this. You said it many times. We live in an era of equity. That there are people who are in power that believe in equity. And if you got something that somebody else wants, they're entitled to it. Because the society's unfair that they don't have it. I know people from California that they're telling them, leave your cars unlocked and don't leave anything valuable in them. And so, if they want to steal it, they'll open up the car without having to smash it.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I don't know how that's deeper than what I just said, but yes, I totally agree with that point. Absolutely right. 913-408-7957. Completely agree. It's all of the above. Text line as well. Pete, how about a candlelight vigil to make us feel good about ourselves? Yes. Or how about our old pal Alonzo Washington, crime fighter here in Kansas City who does some good work. He used to come on the show all the time. He didn't want to come on anymore because we had some political differences. But he did have some very good points about how, when these kids lose their lives on the east side of Kansas City, they send a bunch of moms over there, they release balloons, and nothing changes. Nothing is different. Great example. Candlelight vigils and balloon releases don't do anything, don't accomplish anything. You got to talk about what's causing this. And not that you'll prevent it forever, but you'll certainly decrease the likelihood of it. When communities and voters get serious about what's causing these problems. 913-408-7957. I apologize. This issue gets me fired up. and I'm coming out of the long weekend, and I've had enough of the niceties. And then the media, who also should be doing a much better job digging into the issues on how we got here. Instead, let's interview the lead singer of a cover band on what he's doing during Irish Fest. Why?
Nobody cares.
8:15 on a Tuesday morning. Tirade Tuesday is coming up in 20 minutes. Tucker Carlson tickets in a half hour. He's going to be at T-Mobile next week. Pete Mundo on KCMO. I know we all want the same thing. We all want to see things improve. We all want to live in a community, especially places like Brookside and Waldo, where people don't have to worry about their cars getting smashed and grabbed, walking out on a morning and being like, gosh, dang it, again, my window got blown out. But you have to be able to have the conversations around what actually is going on, why it's happening, and what needs to change to create a better and safer community for everybody. And I'm not seeing that happen in local media. And that's why I apologize. I usually, love sparring and interacting, especially when callers want to agree. But I'm digging out of this dopey summer cold I got from the kids. So I got that going for me as well. You might be able to hear it in my voice. We put together bunk beds for the girls this weekend. I mean, trust me, I'm sitting here this morning. This is vacation after the last 3 days, trying to get those older two to live in peace with their bunk beds all set up. Had to return a bed because the bed was too big for the bunk bed, which I didn't realize before I bought the first bed. So I had a weekend, John. I'm not going to lie.
Yes, sir. And I realized my 11-year-old grandson wasn't feeling well. It's like, oh, yeah, school's in.
Yes.
Petri dish.
Yep, exactly right. So that's what I'm trying to kick right now. So I know, some of you are like, hey, Mike had a good point. I let my emotions get the best of me. It happens. My bad, Mike.
Boom, boom, boom.
All right. Market independence. Go ahead, big fella. What's up?
Hey, listen, you're so right. Many times over the years when I turn on the TV set, I see a crying mother. I see candlelight vigils. I'm sick of it. And I had an experience with a prosecutor. I won't go into it. I'll just say that I had a rental house in the hood. While I'm working on it, in the house, 2 kids come, kick the front door in. I have a gun. I chase after them. I corner them. I get somebody to call the police. The police show up. He said, hey, because of the prosecutor, we can't do anything. Your house is vacant. And that's her position. If it's vacant and they break in, she doesn't do a damn thing. That being said, people have to be willing to take action. I'm not telling everybody grab a gun and chase people down, but I am saying you have to have the veracity and the guts to fight back. You also have to change the culture. You got to have a marketing
self-defense
campaign
matters
beyond Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
You got to have a marketing campaign that says, hey, you do the crime, you pay the time no matter what age. Hey, ministers, get up on that pulpit. Talk about how murder is wrong. Tell the gang members, we're coming after you in our community. We're sick of this. I mean, you have to change the culture. It'll take a while, but you can't just stand on the side and everybody sing Kumbaya and gee, we remember the dead.
Yeah.
Isn't that sad what happened? I mean, I'm sick of it too, but you know what? I'm a type A right wing to the right of Attila the Hun, and I'm 68 years old, and I grew up in a nice area, but right by the hood, and I learned how to fight back. Talk is cheap.
Yeah. Anything else you want to tell us there? You got a left-handed, right-handed, Mark. What's your sign? Give me something else good about you.
Hey, listen, I wouldn't change a hair on my head. I had a birthday yesterday. But
hey,
I'm telling you,
if you're 68, you got the hair on your head, brother. You're doing well. Hey, Mark, thank you, buddy.
I do. Thank you.
Have a great day. 913-408-7957. See, he's right to point out the self-defense part of all this. Everyone is entitled to self-defense. But if you end up in a city or a neighborhood or a culture where people don't have faith in law enforcement and they don't think that they will have a fair prosecutorial chance, then you cross that line from, hey, be aware, you have rights to self-defense, but then you get into a place where you're potentially looking at things like vigilante justice, which is, that's not like a first world country's goal to have vigilante justice going on in the streets of our major American cities, including here in Kansas City. That means complete and utter chaos. Nobody should want that. That's not something that should be promoted, that should be talked about. And Mark wasn't doing that by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a fine line with where we are to then getting there where people literally say, if I don't trust the justice system, if I don't trust that a cop's going to show up for me, if I don't trust that then if I have people committing crimes against me and or my property, I'll have a law enforcement officer show up and then a prosecutor do something about it, then people say, screw it. They throw their hands up and they say, well, I'll just take matters into my own hands.